Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. Let's meet your hosts, Chris Angel and Michael Maher.
What's up, everybody? It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Referrals Podcast, here with your host, as always, Michael J. Maher.
What's up, people? Chris Angel's in the house. Night freak.
Night freak. I'm so thankful that that guy spent as much money in his advertising. I get traction everywhere.
You do.
People are like, Chris Angel, are you a magician? I'm like,
and you're your own kind of magician. You know, you are the man with the plan. You are a you're an Imagineer. Right? Like a magician and an engineer, like combined. You're a and isn't that what they call them at isn't that what call them at Disney? Is Imagineers?
Oh,
like imagination and engineer. Isn't that what they call them?
Three Musketeers. I don't know about magic. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard about the Three Musketeers, right? I've heard about the Mouseketeers?
Mouseketeers. Oh yeah, Mouseketeers. Yeah.
Donatello and whatever they're.
Wait,
that's the Teenage Mutant
cross turtles into mice.
Hey, it's all good. They all go together somehow. Isn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Isn't that Disney?
I would think Disney owns everything now, don't they?
Yeah. If they don't, they will. Right. So
we're gonna free flow today, Michael. We're gonna freestyle.
Yeah. So shirt, right? T-shirt, kind of roller sleeves up, make the work happen, and let's kind of riff a little bit. And you know how this all started was. You are a great marketing coach, and when you talk to people about marketing, you talk to them about like just create the space to just talk through your marketing and create your content. So talk through that a little bit.
Yeah. No. Okay. Good. That's perfect. There's my spark. So people will say that common marketing advice these days is like, nobody's going to watch a 20-minute video. Like we have the attention span of a goldfish. And so people who then feel like they're going to market feel constrained to 7 seconds, which is the attention span of a goldfish. You can't create good content in 7 seconds.
No.
And so what I tell people is like, look, you're going to have long form content, which is a podcast is a great example of that. This is a 40-minute show, 50-minute, hour-long show sometimes. Mm-hmm. Long form content, when you give yourself room to just have a conversation with people, whether that's people on the other end of a camera or people in an interview like this, you give yourself space, and in that space, your truth comes out. And it's very hard to script your truth. It's very hard to sit down, write out your truth, and then stare into a camera and say it. But when you give yourself space, your truth will come out because you'll find this vein that you want to go down, and then you get fired up about it. And then bam, there's your soundbite. Now you can go grab a 60-second soundbite of something brilliant you said, but it took you 20 minutes to get it. So anyway,
I love that. The whole thought of space is really powerful for many reasons. There's a book called Margin, which talks about always give yourself margin. If you have an hour for a drive, or if you have 45 minutes for a drive, leave an hour early and see what happens. Just see what happens. See how you breathe. See how you react. See how you don't react. And just give yourself margin in everything you do. Everything you plan, it kind of goes like the Maher's Law. Everything's going to take you twice as long as you think it will, right? Yeah. I don't know if that's Maher's Law or not, but I just made it up. But it is one of those where it's just like always plan twice. If you think it's going to take an hour to make calls, block off 2 hours for calls. If you think it's going to take 20 minutes to put out a sign, block out 45 minutes to put out a sign. Block out an hour to put out a sign, because what happens is you put out the sign and you've got plenty of time. So you put it in right. You square it up. You think about how the person is going to drive up the house so that the sign is positioned correctly. The neighbor comes out of their house and you've got time. So you're not rushing back into your car to leave, but you've got time. So you put your sign out, the neighbor comes out, you wave, you say hi, right? You give their kid a little high five and they're on their little bike and you're going, oh, that's awesome. Back to school. And then they go, I noticed that you've got the Smith's house listed and so she's going to be in 5th grade next year. So we're thinking about middle school and maybe moving, and we're just kind of thinking about it right now, but would you be willing to talk to us about that? That's what happens in margin. And there's two things that we need to remember about us as human beings is there are people who will think through things, and there are people who need to talk through things. So either way, we need to kind of figure out who we are. And we're on a spectrum. There's people that are half and half. They need time to think, and they think through things and do very well. And they also talk through things and need time to talk to somebody else. I'm kind of 50-50 in the middle, but I know people who are 100% that they will never think through things. But if you're interviewing, if you're talking, they will talk through what their problem is, and eventually it's solved. They solve it themselves, but they will solve it. And then there are people, they could talk all day long and it's going to be scrambled eggs. But if they will just get away on their own and use a whiteboard or use a flip chart or a piece of paper, they will think through things and they will figure things out for themselves. And in today's world, like, I have to tell you, one of the most valuable things is just giving yourself some time to stop and think. Just put it in your schedule that, you know what, I'm going to just stop and think. And that is the secret to success for a lot of CEOs, is they literally open up their schedule, don't have it back to back. They open it up and they have a 1 hour ideation time, or they have 1 hour to meditate in the afternoon, maybe even in their own office, but they have this time to stop and think, because otherwise, all the decisions that have to be made are just too overwhelming. So I think you got to kind of figure out, who are you? Are you the stop and think? Do you need to think through things? And then also on the flip side is, are you, and a lot of people they need to talk through things, and then eventually your thoughts will crystallize and come together.
I think some people have a hard time with margin. I think I can find myself in this too sometimes. I'm not as much as I used to, but the stillness of margin, the quietness of margin is very unnerving. We're so used to doing stuff that for a couple of reasons. One, if I stopped and I had to deal with the fact that I feel like a failure, or I feel like I'm not as far as I should be, and in the stillness or in the margin, I have to look at that and confront it and be with it, I would rather distract myself and be busy than to give myself margin.
Yeah.
Right. And there's all sorts of reasons why we'd be uncomfortable with margin. But I think that I talked to an agent years ago. You know this agent. He's a big agent in the Northeast, but he had a show, and he was talking about how his identity was in his work ethic. And so the more you work, if you stopped for a moment to give yourself margin, the internal dialogue would be like, well, you're a loser. You're not working hard.
That's not who I am. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting when you start talking about margin, because we might feel lazy. We might have all sorts of stories that start to play if we actually stopped for a moment to think or verbally process anything.
Yeah. Anyway. And I would encourage those that are listening to this podcast today, many people, and this is something that I've just learned recently in celebrating a year of the podcast, is how important the show notes are. Because I am an avid walker and I love to listen to podcasts. Well, that is not conducive to taking notes. You're walking. Now, there have been times I literally stop in my tracks, take my phone out, go to notes, and go, oh, that's so good. I've got to record that. But that's also not great for the walk either. You can't really get into the rhythm of the walk if you're stopping and taking notes all the time. But that's the power of the show notes. And people have probably seen how we have improved show notes over the course of the year. And that's one big reason why. And it will continue. The show notes will get better and better over time. Yeah. Well, it's one of those where I would encourage, if you're one of those listeners, it's going to be about a 45 minute podcast, is give yourself that 15 minutes. Like, give yourself an hour for this podcast, walk for 45 or walk for an hour and walk for 15 minutes after this, just to see what happens in the stillness, what happens in the quiet, what happens in the absence of a voice in your head, and your voice actually gets to talk and get through the voice that Chris is just talking about, which is, oh, you need to be productive. You need to get something done. You're busy. You should do this. You should do this. And pretty soon you're shoulding all over yourself, right? Which is not good during a walk.
That's not good.
But it is one of those where margin is and trust me, even I, with everything that I know about margin and space and stop and think and the fire sessions, struggle with it this time because I have 3 people who handle my schedule. So they have the ability to schedule margin right out of my schedule. They can see it, they can schedule it. And something that we had a discussion about a couple of days ago is that, hey, listen, I'm going to put X in the schedule, and that's just something that we don't schedule on top of. And that was very well received. And I had to do that. So just to create the margin. Yeah. But I think another part of this that we could talk about, and today is margin. This is a margin podcast. And I think it would be very helpful for the listeners is like, Chris, you came to 7L with a little bit of a background. You had a real estate background. You were helping people do podcasts. You were helping people do marketing. But you had gone to an event that we'd done, a Referral Mastery Summit. But it was kind of superficial, right? You had dived deep, if you will. And now for a year plus, you've dived in. So what have you learned about the people? What have you learned? You can even talk about what you learned about me and be very raw and transparent about that. I know that would not all be pleasant. And what have you learned about the 7L system? What have you learned about events? What have you learned about handwritten notes? What have you learned? I think it'd be just a real great download to download from you as the host or co-host. What have you seen? What have you heard? What have you learned?
Yeah, that's a big question. I would definitely say, like if I, off the top of my head, one of the themes that has come through loud and clear that I did not know when we started this podcast a year ago was the role of events, how big events play. I feel like it makes total sense on this side of it, like that events are very structured, like it gives a structure to things. I think most referral-based strategies don't have a lot of structure to plan around. It might be a phone call and a handwritten note and stuff, but this feels very inclusive. Like we're bringing, it's more than me. Again, most referral strategies are me going out one to many, but this is many to many. This is like in an event, you've now coordinated many people to talk to many people, and you're sort of facilitating the tribe. Like you're bringing the tribe together and you're creating community in the tribe. You are a community creator. I mean, that's what I hear over and over again, are these people are community creators.
Yeah, people are craving community, right? Sense of belonging is one of our Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we are catering to that in an era where people thought Facebook would help them with the sense of belonging, but actually it's made people even feel more remote than ever before. And they are craving relationships. They're craving these live, not just live interactions, but real interactions, and IRL, right? In real life has kind of taken on a life its own versus the virtual reality.
Right.
And the other thing too on the events is that all of the other referral plans or programs that I know of, and plans and programs might be even put in quotes, is one-to-one. It's one-to-one. It's a handwritten note to one person. Right. It's a phone call to one person, or it's a one-on-one meeting, which listen, I wrote the 7 levels of communication. One-on-one meetings are the top level of communication, but they're not leverageable or scalable. The 7L system, you could build a business you could sell with the 7L system. You can build a business that you may never have to sell, because you only have to work 3 days a year if you do the all yap, and you only have to work 4 days a year if you do the top yap. You could attend the events, love on everybody, and then hand off all the business. So it's one of those where it's the most leverageable, scalable referral system out there. And why did I did that? Because I had to, So the thing is we're also more powerful because of our community. Here's the beauty is all the other people who do referral systems and speak on the tour, they're running the 7L system. They're running events to sell coaching, or they're running events. They don't sell their coaching by referral. They don't sell coaching by writing a handwritten note or stopping by your office. When's the last time somebody stopped by your office that's a speaker trainer? Like, never. They're not going to, right? Get over that thought. Or wrote you a handwritten note.
Right.
So the thing is they're actually using this. I'm just being real about it. And not only that, but I'm showing you at my events like Referral Mastery Summit, you're going to come in, you're going to experience an event, run with the Maher method, and then we're going to teach you how to run the Maher method for events. And then you're going to have a plan, a 52-week plan on doing it yourself. So I know that we have a lot of guests on who talk about events because it's been the most monumental change in their mindset for them. They kind of had a basis of the handwritten notes or the phone calls or that kind of, but we're taking people from 1 or 2 or 3 referrals a year, or maybe even 10 to hundreds, hundreds. We have a gal who got 148 referrals in 2 days running the Maher method at an event. Wow. So it's leverageable and scalable. You get a lot of referrals, not just one referral from one person because you wrote a handwritten note, you met them, and then you followed up with a phone call. So that's definitely, eventbasedbusiness.com. That's my website. That's, we have done event-based business for 20 years now. And it's beautiful when people see the light go on. And it's probably the one thing I didn't emphasize enough in 7L, to be totally forthright with you, Chris, is I did have the examples of the events, but I didn't emphasize them. The housewarming parties are in there, but it wasn't as, I just ran out of room in the book, to be honest. I mean, it's like there are already 100 referral generating strategies, and I had to tell the story in 192 pages, so right. it just, guess what? That means I got to write another book,
There you go. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I noticed that I probably was surprised by it a little bit was that you don't need as many people to produce a healthy, income through your business if you're focused on the right people. And I would have said in the past, and I've coached this in the past. I'm like, I will say to people, you don't have a big enough database to hit the kind of goals you have, which if they were doing it the way they were doing it is true. But to do it your way, to do it this way, where you're actually investing in finding ambassadors and bringing your best of your best together, I'm impressed by, and definitely have taken note of that. It doesn't take a lot of people to make it work, to be successful.
So that's one of the myths of the database that, honestly, I mean, does a bigger database help? It could, right? It also could be a hindrance. And I will tell you, there's people who have hesitated to do the 7L system because they're sitting there with 12,000 contacts and they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
It's almost easier if you only have 50 to start, and it's easier to manage, but all of it works for all of them. But the other thing too is, if I wanted to sell a lot of books, which would be better, a database of 20,000 or a database of 1?
Mm-hmm. Right. Depends.
What would you have said a year ago?
Right. We did this a year ago, and and it was like, I would rather have the bigger database. And you said, well, but what if that one person was Oprah? And then I'm
That's exactly right. That's right. So what was what if the one person was Oprah? And that is the difference between building an army of ambassadors and doing it the way that a lot of people teach you to do it. Just add 250 people to your database every year. Well, that's no good.
Right.
You could buy a list for a million people, So great observations. Yeah.
Yeah. I really love that. I think if I think about like the people we've had on the show, the people that have come through your system, such a diverse group of people for sure, all sorts of different personalities. But what I love about everyone and why it feels good to me is that they all come from this place of generosity. Like, like you can be from completely different sides of the earth, but when you have that at the core, that generosity at the core, like, that you're in the same tribe, that you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Well, thank you for noticing that. And if you'll notice, they have a glow about them. Yeah. That's what I noticed is they have a light, they have an energy about them. And you know what? They're having fun. Mm-hmm. That's what I love the most is they're literally not faking like they're having fun. They're enjoying doing the business. And it's almost like the referrals are ancillary. Like, let's just run the business and have fun. And, oh yeah. And I also got 10 referrals, or I got 20 referrals. And, you know, I know this guy who interviews people who do cold calling, specifically in the real estate world, to expireds and for sale by owner. And every interview, it's like I'm watching him interview an animal. It's like that person is going to kill, maim, crush. Like, it's like there's an intensity and a dark side to them that is just like, whoa, you know, it's like, and the exact opposite is what I see with all of our guests, is that they are lit up. They glow. They are having a good time. You know, it's win the war, but enjoy the battle. And, you know, we do have to win the war in this business, because only the number one person gets the business. You know, if they walk into another store and use their services, then you're not going to get that business. So we've got to be number one. We've got to win. We've got to be the place where they take the order. And listen, I'm the most competitive guy ever. But what I've discovered is that you can win the war and enjoy the battle. You can have fun lead generating, prospecting, whatever you want to call it, generating business and referrals. But what's really cool is that you can also do it for others, you know, sponsor partners and your ambassadors, and you can generate business for them using the exact same strategy at the exact same time. And that's the part of love. Love is abundant. You have 2 children, you love them both equally. You're like, oh my gosh, if I have another kid, my love is going to be cut in half. But that's not what happens. You love them both equal. Love is infinite. Well, that's the beauty of these events is that when you have your insurance agent in there, your financial planner in there, your lender in there, you have a methodology to generate business for them as well. And it doesn't take away from your business. In fact, in some ways it adds to your business. And it's just this wonderful upward spiral of momentum that you create with using the 7L system.
Working by referral is not some fairy tale world. It's real. I've seen it. And you can too. Invest in yourself by learning how to run your business by referral at Michael's upcoming live event. It will be a day filled with hands-on, how-to, low to no-cost strategies that you can implement in your business right away. Learn how to run a business by referral that not only feeds your family, but feeds your soul. Go to www.gengenevents.com today. That's www.gengenevents.com.
Yeah. So good. There, there's a fourth one here. So if I thought about you and your personality, you're like all over the place. You're like you're a maniac. You're like everywhere. And
I am.
Knowing that, and then I read 7L when it first came out. It's a cute story, and you're a maniac, right? And so, but the amount of the amount of system behind what this is, right? I would not have predicted that, and to the depth of system that is built into this whole 7L thing blows my mind. Like, it's kudos to you, because I would not have connected those dots, right? Just because you lead with so much energy and passion that people could miss the systematic piece of you and what you've put into this whole thing.
Yeah. And the amount of thought, right? And
crazy.
And research and trial and error, lots of error.
Yeah.
But it literally, you know, I learned a long time ago, if you're going to do it more than once, systematize it.
Yep.
And so I thought, I'm going to build a lot of relationships. So I'm just going to systemize everything that comes with relationships, you know. So almost in every interaction, if somebody has a question, we probably have a system of follow-up. We probably have a system to answer that question, you know, and there's probably a system that lays underneath it that is going to make it even better for both of them. You know, the other part of this whole thing is this whole culture of win, win, win. You know, it's a win for the 2 people we connect. It's also a win for us, and it doesn't cost anybody anything.
Right.
So, thanks for noticing. It is a system of systems for sure.
I'm a maniac. I can only know that I notice you're a maniac because I'm a maniac in my own right.
Takes one to know one.
Yeah, it takes one to know one, right? No, for sure. A tribe knows their own, but I built some systems, but it like broke something in my brain. I mean, it was like, the amount of energy it takes to, one, sit still, two, like have to document that stuff. Like I've had to hire people to do that for me. So I just really appreciate when there is a system already done. Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing is like, we're like us people, us feelers, the ones who like to have relationship and are from the generosity generation are not often systematic thinkers. And so to have a system already built that I don't have to build is like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, everybody runs better off a checklist, right? I can, if I know 2 follows 1, 3 follows 2, then I can do it, but not just do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go from hope to faith.
Yeah.
Right. I hope this works to, oh, you mean all these other people have already walked this path? Then I can walk in faith, and it's like, there's hope, faith, and love. And the greatest of all these is love. Well, hope is first. Well, hope is a game that we play on ourselves. Hope is a mindset shift. And then faith is a mindset shift with some action. And then, but it's still selfish. It's faith, right? Faith is coming out of us. Well, the beauty of love, why is it the greatest of all? Because it encompasses everybody, right? Love is, you can't do love alone necessarily, right? Love is an in game, but it's also an out game.
Right.
And it's an income and an outcome. And it's one of those where, it's the power of it is that you can go from hope to faith knowing that all you have to do is steps 1, 2, and 3. So you take faith, which the difference between hope and faith is hope waits, faith acts. So we get these people who are usually sitting on their hands or hesitant or fearful, and we get them to action. That's what a system does that I love. And that's what's happening with people with the 7L system is they're finally taking it. Look at the Tommy interview and the Christina Bentley interview and the Jody Osofsky interview. They talk about how fearful they were. Like, Christina was not going to talk to sponsors about money and all the fear around money. Now she's like it's $22,000 to sponsor what we do. It's like, she got over it really quickly. I noticed.
Yeah.
And then the last thing about a system is you get there quicker. If you have a checklist 1, 2, 3, you can just do them with faith in action, and you're going to get from A to B faster. Referrals faster.
I've taken the disc so many times, but years ago when I was first taking it, and somebody was validating it, as a high I is where I lead from. I'm a 2.
Yeah.
I lead from my 2, and it'd say something like, "You are good with practical procedures and systems," and I'm like, I don't know. I hate systems. I don't know what you're talking about. But it wasn't until like later on in life, and this is like 20 years later now, I so appreciate simple systems because if it's left up to me to have to create something from scratch, I just go everywhere.
Yeah.
Have a simple system where I'm like, oh, okay, I do this, and I'm done. Then it's good.
Yeah. You'll get it done. And especially probably is that if you can get it done today.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the beauty of what we talk about is we have a 52-week plan.
Yeah.
And the beauty is you can get what you need done for your database in less than a day.
Right.
52 weeks. You don't have to do anything for over a week. All you have to do is do something this week, and it's going to take you less than 4 hours. In some cases, it might take you 5 minutes, but you're never going to have to go over a day. So if we know that it's less than a day, a week, then we can execute and implement it. And the rest of the week, you can work the referrals or follow up with the referrals or sell real estate or help people get mortgages or do insurance. Or we just signed up a gym owner who is looking for people to join his gym. And he doesn't want he doesn't want to sell gym memberships for $7 and have them never show up. Right. He wants to make a huge difference in their health. And that's who I like working with. It's not about the sale. It's about making a difference and adding value to the world. And that, this is the perfect, in my opinion, perfect system for it.
that's probably if I think about it, that's a perfect place for me to wrap, and we can keep going if you want to. But if I think about like this day and age, this digital age we're in, and that's most of the space I play in is in a digital space. If I think about the how hungry I am personally, how hungry we are as people to connect with others in a way that is meaningful, that there is in a based system that brings people together, that feels very authentic and not pitchy, not slimy. I feel like that, I don't mean to overstate this, but it feels like it brings hope to the landscape of the world we live in right now. I think a lot of people are feeling down on the world, down on things, but this type of stuff brings hope, right? Like, oh my God, like we're revisiting how we're wired, who we are, how we're built.
Totally. And many people think that right now we are more divisive than ever. Well, divisive. So we talked earlier about the matrix, right? Look at grade people on energy. There are people who plus us and there are people who minus us, and we need to know who they are. So let's have our list of people and just put plus or minus. Yeah. And then we go back through and it's like, all right, the minuses. There are people on there who are divisive. So we need to put a dot on top and bottom of that line. And these are the dividers. They're argumentative, they're angry, they're, hurting people hurt people. That's how it works. And then we need to look at the pluses and we know, okay, there are some of these pluses that deliver a whole lot more energy than just a plus. They're multipliers. They multiply our energy. They multiply our business. The value they bring is not singular or linear. And so we need to put an X through that plus sign. So now it looks like a multiplication sign. So we have these multipliers, we have these adders, we have these subtractors, and we have these divisive or divisors. And so all of a sudden it's like, the beauty of this is maybe the world is more divisive because we're running into more divisive type of people. But the thing is what this system does is it brings the multipliers together. Yeah. And that's the power of it, is we can focus on the multipliers and the adders and bring them together in a really positive environment. And who knows what we could achieve, there's been some major league miracles that have happened when people get together. Yeah. They're craving relationships. They want it, like you said.
Yeah. So. I think when you get people together in the context of generosity, and you have margin in that space of generosity, a lot of stuff can get created that actually changes the world. Like that. I mean, that's the conversation I love to have, is how do we create a groundswell in the world? How do we create change at a massive scale in the world? And I think when you have multipliers in a context of generosity with margin, all sorts of stuff can get created. And you don't even know, you listening to this don't even know yet what can get created, but that you have a system that pulls those multipliers together in a space of generosity that has margin, you have all the ingredients for magic to happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you talk about like asking for a referral. Everybody's talking about asking for a referral is divisive. It can be repulsive. It's awkward. And I would encourage everyone to build your business based on not making people feel awkward, but based on making people feel awesome. Whatever you do is going to be geared to make them feel awesome. And are they awesome when they sell their house? Maybe not. But we can make them feel awesome, and we can help them understand the power of them moving or whatever it may be. And then you've got the events where people are going to feel awesome because they're going to meet other great people. And so everything is around, and they're going to answer the phone when you call. If you are calling and you're always looking to take or get, people are not going to answer the phone anymore. But if you are calling, like, we've had many people talk about Cheryl and Tommy and the generosity calls, the January calls, and these calls of generosity, right, where you're calling to give. You're just looking for somehow, some way to give, to help, to add value. They answer the phone. People always tell me all the time, it's like, well, man, Michael, it just seems like people answer the phone more when you call than when I call. And it's like, I'm not going to apologize for that. Why, if I called you, why would you answer the phone? Yeah, and if you called me, why would I not answer the phone? I mean, think about that. And so it's like, well, I would answer the phone for you, Michael, because, I know it might be a referral, might be an opportunity, but you're not going to call and complain to me, and it's probably going to be positive. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So why wouldn't I answer the phone when you call? Well, it might be a complaint. It might be a problem. I might be looking to get something from you, like advice or pick your brain or whatever it may be. And you probably have a lot of people that want to do that. So you probably aren't going to answer the phone when I call, because it's like, okay, so how do you change that? Right? You change it by delivering positive, delivering value, and always be looking to help other people, live in a spirit of generosity.
Yeah.
So it's, I tell you, Chris, I'm proud, right, of what we've done with the podcast, and the future is very bright. But I'm really proud that the world is catching on to this a little bit, because in 2010, when I wrote the book, nobody got it. Nobody got it. Like, they think they got it. Like, it's like when you ask people, all right, how many of you are appreciative people? Everybody's raising their hand. It's like, okay, when's the last handwritten note you wrote? Or when's the last time you called somebody specifically just to say thank you? Or when was the last time you just sent an email? You didn't say thanks at the end of it, but you actually just wrote an email to express your appreciation, or a phone call to express your appreciation, or a text message. And it's just like, it's not enough to be appreciative. We have to show and express our appreciation. And now what's happening is we have this group of people that get it, and that are living and breathing the generosity generation, and their lives are better, but their community's lives are better. And I'm not just talking about their circle, their community. I'm talking about the community, the city that they're living in. I have people who take pictures of these handwritten note board. They have bulletin boards with all these handwritten notes on it. And they're taking a picture and like, this wouldn't have happened a year ago. This happened because of the 7L system. This happened because of the generosity generation, and it builds on itself, and it takes leaders, right? It takes leaders in these communities, leaders in the generosity generation, who are willing to do this differently. This is prospecting reinvented. This is generating business. This is referrals reinvented.
Yeah. So
it takes a leader to just trust it, have faith in it, and just implement it because it feels good. And we have more leaders than we've ever had before. It's just exciting to see how far it's come in 9 years, and the sky's the limit because this is the human approach to business. That's the human approach to sales, the human approach to business. Even the corporate company, even the companies, even the Fortune 500 companies are catching on.
Yeah. I think that's what people are hungry for, humanity, and and not the corporate thing. Trend spotting,
Megatrends 2000, I think is the name of the book. There was a Megatrends book said that for every technological advancement, there will be an advancement in humanity. That's a really powerful statement, Wow. So we've had this huge advancement in technology with social media and the internet. And so I truly believe that the generosity generation is the counter to that technology. And it's not that we use technology, right? In fact, if you like tech plus human, I truly believe that means superhuman. We have these superhumans who are being more human than ever before, but they're also leveraging tech to build relationships better than ever before. And that's the superhuman that is running the 7L system and leading the generosity generation. So for every technological advancement, there's going to be a human advancement. And you look, Google has the N score, and the N score is just the number of times a word appears. If you do the N score for the word generosity, it was really high in the 1700s, 1800s, and then it just steadily dropped as capitalism grew, as the United States was born, and so on and so forth. And the word generosity actually decreased in usage in the books and in literature everywhere. And then guess what? You start looking at about 2005, 2010 on the Engram score, generosity is making a comeback. It's making a comeback.
Wow.
And listen, that's it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. And it's not a Michael Maher thing. It's not even a Chris Angel thing. It's a human thing. You know, the humans are rallying, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's perfect. I mean, and that's, this podcast is an expression of that. This is fruit of that, as is the stuff I'm trying to do in my work. Like, right. You're right. You're seeing it pop up, and this is our human response to the technology response, right? Like, we are responding, and that's what I love. I love that. And I appreciate that you, in faith, right? Faith is action. When you were looking out in the world of like, does the world really need another podcast? Like, there was something you saw, and you went with faith in action to champion this conversation. I think this not only is good for the tribe of the generosity generation, but I feel like your show is reaching new audiences, new people who are hungry for this conversation. So it's been an honor to, be doing this with you for a year.
Couldn't have done it without you. And that's the truth. Engineering wise and co-hosting wise, it would not have happened without you. And that's 100% certain. You have been a major catalyst in this process, and neither one of us are dying, so we need to make sure that everybody knows that both of us are fully healthy and healthier than ever before. This is not the last show, but it's a stop and think show. It's a margin show. It's a show where we could talk about anything that came up, and I think it's one of the best. Yeah, I truly believe that.
I love it. Good stuff. Always good to wrap with you, Michael. Those of you listening, if you want to connect with this podcast and all the goodies at ReferCo, you can go to referco.com. You can also go to referrallibrary.com, and you can go to referralspodcast.com. Holy smokes. I mean, there's 3 places. If you are just starving to go search on the internet for stuff, you can go to those 3 places. I would definitely encourage you to look at the upcoming ReferCo events that are coming up that would be best for you. So definitely check that out. Michael, thank you for your time today in this margin. Thank you for this margin.
Love it. This was a fun show. Thanks.
It's a good format. We should try it again sometime.
Amen.
All right, man. See ya. Thank you.